to my fellow conservatives, tell me, what is so appealing about this guy? Is it just that he called out the president one time? Look, my dad does that every day from his living room. And my dad's awesome, but he is in no way qualified to run the country. And neither is Ben Carson. He's embarrassing. Conservatives, set your standards higher. We can do much, much better.
You know, some might say the same about S.E. Cupp. She calls herself a conservative, but anybody who would say that about a wonderful man like Ben Carson, whether you think he's the best candidate or not, she should be ashamed of herself. And she's on CNN and gives Brooke Baldwin a chance to go, yeah, just disgusting. John Philip Sousa IV, author of Ben Carson is RX for America, also a member of the Board of Advisors for FAIR, and you can check him out at John Philip Sousa IV, or the4th.com. There's the book. Hello, John.
Steve, how are you?
It's so good to talk to you. I got to tell you, he went on with Brianna Keela or something like that on CNN, and she badgered him. Do you think gays are discriminated against? Do you think gays are discriminated against? He answered her 10 different times, and she kept asking the same question. She scolded him, treated him like garbage, which you might expect. But for, S.E. Cupp, who parades as a conservative, to trash him the way we just heard her trash him, what the heck's wrong?
It's appalling. She has no idea what she's talking about. Dr. Carson has more practical experience in managing processes, managing projects, managing budgets, managing people than probably most of the other candidates running, and he's not a politician. Amen to that.
I mean, I'm sure her father's a great man who she alluded to, but as you just pointed out, all the experience Ben Carson has, not to mention the fact that he's one of the most miraculous medical professionals we've ever seen, who was the first to separate conjoined twins at the head. Just that alone should earn you respect.
Steve, just think about putting that process together to figure out how to do that. I have a hard time putting a Band-Aid on my finger, let alone separating conjoined twins. It takes pure genius.
John, again, here's a black man who is treated by the media like he's a white man, which is their worst thing you could be in the media, in the liberal media world, is a white man. An older white man is really something the worst, the bottom of the barrel. And it's only because he's conservative. They treat him like a joke.
Listen, if Dr. Carson were praising Obama, they would feel exactly the opposite. They would be bowing to this guy. But he's not. He's standing up to Obama and the failed policies that are destroying our country.
Why is it that you have been on board with Ben Carson from the get-go, even before he announced, certainly, and we've had you on talking about him in the past, and now the book, Ben Carson is the RX for America. Why'd you write it, and why do you feel so strongly?
Well, because I guess in part because of my background and my great-grandfather, Steve, I don't want to see our country go down the crapper, and that's what's happening with the policies of this government, and it's got to change. And in all of my years, hiring more politicians to run the country is not the answer. We need a fresh voice and a fresh face and a fresh set of ideas. We need a guy who's a problem solver, who can take on projects, and every issue is a project, and fix them.
John, Ben Carson's story, if it were a Democrat, I mean, Hillary spent the whole, when she wasn't talking about dyeing her hair and being a grandmother and how old men get in office, she talked about her mother and women and I mean, she has no story compared to Ben Carson. Ben Carson was an inch away from stabbing somebody. Ben Carson's mother turned his life around and the life of his siblings, and Ben Carson is a story that everyone should look at for inspiration.
Steve, when the Pope comes to the United States later this year, he ought to give sainthood to Ben Carson's mom. Here's a woman married at 13, had 2 boys, found out her husband was a bigamist, left him, raised these 2 boys, cleaning houses, and one day told the boys, no more TV. We're going to start reading books.
Right, and you got to write a book report.
And she was illiterate, Steve. She couldn't read the book reports, but every week she pretended like she could.
Only a bigoted media would treat Ben Carson's story the way they are. John, great to talk to you, sir. John Philip Sousa IV, and yes, he is the descendant of the original, and the book is Ben Carson, RX for America. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Steve. Always good to be with you.